Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda, and I am accompanied by my 4-year-old daughter who's actually sitting right next to me. She's actually the star of this episode of Ignition Time. Let's get started, folks. Let's start with this headline on your screen from Bloomberg. The JP Morgan strategist said buy the dip in stocks as Omicron could actually accelerate the end of the pandemic. So why is this a distinct possibility? Well, folks, early reports are suggesting that the new variant, that's Omicron, may be less deadly than thought. I was actually the first channel on YouTube to break the news about the Omicron variant and its impact on the economy. But as you probably know, there's been a significant amount of market turmoil. There's my daughter. Ria, I'm recording an episode. Can I ask you to be silent, please? Folks, that one was for you, and my team is not going to edit this component of the video because you folks are almost like family. But let me get back to the content. All of the recent turmoil, all of the recent ups and downs, all the recent ups and downs in the stock market have actually created a situation where many people are wondering whether this is a good time to buy stocks. Now, it is pretty clear that Omicron is actually more transmissible than the original variant of COVID. However, early reports are suggesting that it may be less deadly. Now, folks, I want you to know that the evolution of a virus is such that the evolved version of the virus tends to be more contagious but less deadly. Now, this could ultimately be a positive and could signal the early end of the pandemic, because as viruses evolve, as they mutate, they again, like I mentioned earlier, they tend to become more contagious but less deadly. They become less lethal. Now, could this be an early sign that we could be at the end of the pandemic? Maybe. According to economists Marko Kolanovic and Bram Kaplan, they wrote this: Omicron could be a catalyst for steepening, not flattening the yield curve, rotation from growth to value, sell-off in COVID and lockdown beneficiaries, and rally in reopening themes. We view the recent sell-off in these segments as an opportunity to buy the dip in cyclicals, commodities, and reopening themes, and to position for higher bond yields and steepening. Folks, in short, this could mean that this is an opportunity to buy certain growth stocks, certain technology companies. And I can tell you that I am heavily into technology companies like Apple, and I'm starting to take possessions now in companies like Nvidia. But folks, the bottom line is that there's a historical pattern for a less severe and more transmissible virus, which is essentially what Omicron could be. Could Omicron end up being a catalyst that could transform a deadly pandemic into something that is more like the seasonal flu? Absolutely. That is likely to happen. In fact, what the strategist wrote was that if that scenario were to happen, instead of skipping 2 letters and naming it Omicron, the WHO could have skipped it all the way to Omega. What that basically means is there could be a light at the end of the tunnel, and there could be a situation in which Omicron could potentially signal the end of the pandemic. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, folks, because the seasonal flu, while it is contagious, is not as deadly as COVID. COVID, as you know, was deadly and is deadly. But now, if we have a version of COVID that is actually evolving into something that could become like the seasonal flu, and that could potentially be something that we have to live with in the future, that is not necessarily a bad thing, folks, because it's not COVID, right? This is a new variant of COVID, which you never know. We call it Omicron now, but we may end up giving it a different name. We may end up living. In fact, I think there's a very high possibility we will end up living with a version of COVID, whether it's called Omicron, whether it's called Omega. We will end up living with a version of COVID in the years to come, in the decades to come. Just like we take a flu shot, we may end up taking an Omicron shot or an Omega shot, because we are simply living with this, and the world was able to get through this pandemic, and now the world is living with the new reality, the new post-COVID reality of a new version of this virus, which has mutated to a point where it is more contagious, just like the flu, but it is less deadly. Now, what is extremely ironic about this, folks, is that COVID in and of itself was significantly more contagious than the flu. And now, if we have something that's even more contagious than COVID, which is what Omicron is, but it's milder, that actually creates a case where, let's just call the new version of the COVID shot, let's just call it the Omega shot for a second, in case Omicron is renamed as Omega, in case it mutates further. I actually would go so far as to say the Omega shot becomes more important than the flu shot. And here's why. Bear with me. The Omega shot is more important than the flu shot for two reasons. One, it is significantly more contagious than the flu. Why? Because COVID is more contagious than the flu. We know COVID is airborne. That's why we all have to wear masks, or a lot of people wear masks. I mean, I wear masks when I go out. And if Omega, again, I'm just calling it Omega for the sake of this episode, in case we have another version, another variant of Omicron. Omega being more contagious than COVID, which by definition means that Omega is way more contagious than the flu. And in terms of being deadly, we know that COVID was way more deadly than the flu. And we know that Omicron or Omega, even if it's less deadly than COVID, will end up being more deadly than the flu because it is a milder version of COVID. So in the end, if you're taking the flu shot because you don't want to get the flu, you should take the Omega shot because it's way more contagious than the flu and it's more dangerous than the flu. Plain and simple. Now, in case you want to resist it for whatever reasons you may have, if you're taking the flu shot and not taking the Omega shot, you're kind of doing things backwards. And that is a reality of the world that we live in. We're all used to the flu shot. It's, considered benign. Everyone takes it. You don't really think about it. This is absolutely, it's a situation in which we do it because we're conditioned to do it and we're used to it. I think we'll simply have to face the new reality that we need a new annual Omega shot to be able to get through seasonal symptoms associated with a version of COVID, which is already here, Omicron, but a version of COVID which is more contagious, more deadly than the flu. And that is the reality of the world we live in. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you. I'll see you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.